Episode 74.
What's in the box?
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we're thinking inside the box. What makes a board game box perfect for its job, and what has us looking for alternate storage options? Plus, I extend the theme with a game for Crystal in the chat. We discuss some games we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. My name is Eric, and joining me now, the Phyllis Weaver to my Cooney, it's Crystal.
Hey, it's me! And I have no idea what that reference is.
Oh, come on! What if I said it? Phyllis Weaver! What's in the box?
Okay, it's UHF.
It is UHF.
I'm sorry, the names, come on, the names are not what sticks out about
Are
that.
you ready, Weaver? I mean...
Yeah, but like, Phyllis Weaver, like, that's not where my brain goes. I know, I'm sorry, I failed.
I wasn't sure, actually, about the name. I did go back and check the clip just to make sure I got it right. But yes, okay. I was right. I did remember it correctly. Hey, Crystal!
Wait, does that mean, are we going to play Wheel of Fish later?
That is not the game I have. You'll just have to wait for it.
We definitely should put that on the back burner.
Yes, we should definitely try Wheel of Fish at some point. I need to say thank you, Crystal, because you turned me on to a podcast this week. You actually mentioned it here on the show a few weeks ago, called Strong Songs, the Strong Songs podcast. And this week you tweeted at me and said, this is what I was talking about, which I appreciated because I had forgotten. This is a podcast that talks about and deconstructs popular music and talks about the harmony and the rhythms and the recording techniques that make these iconic songs what they are. And I downloaded the pilot, which is about, it's Toto's Africa, and immediately subscribed to the whole thing. I've got like a dozen episodes now that I'm working my way through. I listened to Dancing Queen today, and I'm on the Let It Go episode right now. I'm waiting to do the Super Mario episode until I have my son in the car, because he's going to be really interested in that one. But it's a great show and really fascinating from a technical perspective. If you're a fan of music, I highly recommend it. So thank you, Crystal.
No problem. Obviously we all love board games, but I think something that I've found a lot of people in the board game hobby also share is that we like listening to people nerd out or talk passionately about a thing that they love. And Kirk Hamilton, the host of Strong Songs, has studied music for most of his life. He can play a whole bunch of instruments, and he is clearly the biggest nerd when it comes to music, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like, yes. He's just so passionate about it, and you can't help but fall in love with almost any song he talks about, even if it's not a song that you previously knew about or liked.
He is so enthusiastic about every piece. Like, this is the best part, and they build up to my favorite part of the song, and he's just constantly gushing and enthusiastic about the songs he picks, which is great. You want someone who is passionate about their subjects. So it is a blast. I highly recommend it.
Yay. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I hope some people in the chat who like podcasts go check it out too. I don't know Kirk Hamilton personally, but I love the show.
So this is our board game show. It's not the music podcast. We should probably talk about some games we've been playing lately. Crystal, would you like to start?
I would love to.
Okay.
All right, I'm actually going to drop a link in the chat. So I don't have anything to show visually for this one because I actually played the official mod of this game on Tabletop Simulator.
Okay.
But it is on Kickstarter right now for about the next day. I think it's got like literally about 24 hours left at this point. It is called Roar and Write, an Animal Kingdoms game. So this is, for those of you familiar with the publisher Weird Giraffe Games, this is their secondary imprint, Galactic Raptor Games.
Okay.
And Animal Kingdoms is a game that they've previously published. I've never actually played Animal Kingdoms, so I cannot speak to how this relates to that one, other than the fact that they use the same artwork, which is gorgeous. So this is a roll and write game where you are trying to appease these different animal leaders. And what's neat about this roll and write game compared to some others is every single age, and there are 5 ages over the course of a game, every age there are 3 die rolls. and every player has access to every die at all times. So this is definitely one of those kind of like multiplayer solitaire style games where you can technically play with as many people as you want. It says on the thing, I think, 1 to 100, like a lot of these games do.
Yep.
But it's nice because it doesn't have that feeling that some roll and writes do where you feel like there's no good options at all. There's almost always something you can do. So what you do during the different ages is when the die roll happens, you can write as many die numbers down in your first age as you want. And then you can put one number up into your kingdom area. Your kingdom area has specific rules regarding where numbers can be placed. And then you'll score points at the end of the game for the kingdoms that you've completely filled in. The numbers that you're writing down in the specific age row are, you're trying to appease one of the card animals that has come out. There are 5 per game, one of each of different types. And each age, you can score any of those 5 animals that you want based on whatever numbers you wrote down. But you'll get bonuses for doing all of them or more than one of them. So in theory, you could score the same way every single age, but you'll get less points if you do that. You want to kind of diversify. In each age, you want to go for another different animal. The animals have rules like one of them only wants to see 6s written down, and that's it. Which obviously, when you're only rolling 6 dice 3 times to get a whole bunch of 6s written down, that can be kind of difficult. Others want to see pairs or dice that add up to certain values. And there's different levels of scoring depending on how well you complete their tasks each age. Each player does also have an individual scoring goal, a secret card that's given to them at the beginning of the game that you'll score as well. You go through 3 ages, you're writing numbers in each age and in the kingdom, and then at the end you total up all your points and that's the end. It's pretty simple as far as roll and writes go. I honestly think this is one that would be really good for families, especially families with kids. This is not necessarily intended to be a kids game. I think it's an any age game, but it's a little bit easier to grok than other roll and writes. So I think if you're a person that likes roll and writes and you want something that's a little bit easier to teach to people, but you want something that's more interesting looking and feeling than something like Yahtzee or Quicks, which I'm not hating on those games, but like Quicks, which I love, it's boring looking and there's nothing like exciting about it. It's fun, it's a good game, but this looks pretty. It looks interesting and it's still easy to teach. So, like I said, I played this on Tabletop Simulator, which admittedly playing a roll and write game on a digital space is weird because you have to like click into the areas and then type stuff.
Yeah, so I was going to ask how that worked actually.
Yeah, it literally has fields on the card that you just click into and just type the number that you want to write down. So it was pretty easy, but I don't know, like this is one of the first ones that I really felt like I missed the tactile feel, which is so silly because all it is writing things. In a normal game, you're manipulating tons of pieces. But yeah, I miss writing things down. I guess I like doing that specific aspect. I do like roll and write games. For me, it's hard for me to find a roll and write game that I dislike. There are some that are better than others, but I think this one is really cute. It's definitely not on the more complex side of roll and write games. If you're looking for something meaty and thinky, and this is not that. But it's cute. The artwork's great. The gameplay is fun. The cards are variable, so the setup will be potentially a little bit different every single time you play.
Okay.
So that will mix it up too. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and like I said, it's on Kickstarter for another day. Literally 24 hours to go. They've already tripled just about their funding goal, so it's happening. And it says it's only $19 plus free shipping for most countries. Like, that's hard to beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the name one more time?
Roar and Write, an Animal Kingdoms game.
All right. The game I wanted to talk about today is also animal-themed. It says it right here on the cover. It says, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal." It's the Home Alone game. My son asked to play this week. It was his pick for family game night. And I actually had this on the sell pile, and he rescued it because he adores it. So we're going to talk about this game he loves. This is one of the Prospero Hall designs. This came out, I guess, a year or two ago. one of the very early debuts of Prospero Hall. The Home Alone game has this lovely aesthetic of, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but it's knit like a Christmas sweater.
Oh,
So all of the art
cool.
is that it's a little easier to tell on the Kevin board. But you have two sides. You can play this with up to 4 players, but it's really a 2-player game. You've got somebody playing Kevin, you've got somebody playing the Wet Bandits, and they each have their own deck of stuff, which I'm going to dig out right now. The object for the bandits is to get $2,000 worth of stuff. If they manage to steal $2,000 worth of loot from Kevin's house, they win. But if they run out of cards before they do that, then the police are called and Kevin wins. Each of the 2 sides has their own deck. There's the bandit deck, and there is the Kevin deck, and there is also a deck of loot that look like that. And there's stuff like this stereo component, which on its own is worth $200. But if you get the other pieces of the stereo, it goes up in price. It becomes $600 or even $1,200 if you manage to get all 3 pieces of the stereo. There's a safe in here, and there's a key. They're worth nothing on their own, but if you get the 2 together, there's $600 in the safe. So there's some, and then there's just stuff that's like, there's a TV that's worth $500, stuff like that. So at the beginning of a round, both players will draw up to 6 cards, and Kevin then draws 3 loot cards, shows it to the Wet Bandit player, and so you know what's available this round. Then Kevin shuffles them up and places them secretly on 3 locations. You've got the front door, you've got the downstairs window, and again, this is that knit art design, and the upstairs window. So one card is going to go in each of those locations, but the bandits don't know which one is which. Then Kevin can spend as many cards as he or she wants to put traps in those locations. You can have as many as 3 traps for each of those locations. Or you could put nothing if you think you want to bluff, or you don't think that the stuff is very valuable this round, whatever.
Oh yeah, I can see a lot of meta going into that.
Very
like
much.
It's do you put traps with the valuable thing or the less valuable thing and all that?
If you are my son, you put 2 traps. You just spread them out evenly, 2 traps on each thing. Some of these traps are decoys. They're like the mannequin or the dancing people, and so they're nothing. And so the bandit player then chooses one of these locations, invasion points, and they have, you can tell, a little cost in the upper corner. This says you need 1 card from your hand in order to even attempt the front door. The upstairs window is harder. You need 1 from your hand and 1 from either your deck or your hand to get to the upstairs window. So maybe the more expensive stuff goes there, but maybe Kevin is messing with you. Once you have paid the cost to start in a lane, then you start revealing face-down cards, and you have to deal with them. So let's grab a trap here. Oh, here's a decoy. The firecracker pot. That's nothing. It would just be discarded and nothing would happen. But the fan and feathers have a cost in the upper corner. The bandit player would then have to discard a red Christmas light from their hand, and some of the cards have multiple symbols on them, in order to get past the fan. Or you can take the pain, it's called, and discard more cards from your hand or your deck. Remembering, of course, that once you run out of cards, you're pretty much done. You can't invade anymore. And you continue like this until you've completely cleared the lane. Or you retreat. There are some of these that you just look at and go, I can't do anything more, I'm done. But if you make it through the lane, you acquire the loot card, reveal it, see what you manage to get. You can even keep going if you have enough cards or are brave enough to attempt to do more. There's some special abilities and stuff like that. In the many games of this that I have played, Kevin has almost always won. It is very difficult for the bandits to succeed. I think that may not necessarily be a balance thing. I think that's a psychological timing thing. You have to be very judicious with your spending of cards. The end of the game is actually pretty strategic in how many cards you still have left in those last couple of rounds, because if Kevin runs out of traps, suddenly the bandits have free reign and they can just take stuff. And if you do that, if Kevin runs out of stuff too early and the bandits have been more cautious, that can be the whole game, because they can just take. But that's tricky as the bandit player because, like, you want to get stuff. You want to get past the traps. But knowing what is available in that round sort of changes how aggressive you want to be. If they're all really high-scoring items, then yeah, you might want to push. But if it's a couple of, zeros or the key to the safe that you saw go by 2 rounds ago, then maybe you don't care so much. It is not a bad game, and I like how it's got all the traps and mechanisms from the movie. I just feel like it's a little too imbalanced for my enjoyment. But the fact that my kids like it, and that they'll play it with each other, and that when I am suckered into playing it, it's a pretty quick game. And it's not like I'm here for hours playing something I don't enjoy. It is an enjoyable activity with my kids, and I'm okay with them rescuing it from the pile. That's the Home Alone game from, who's the publisher on it? I think this might be Big G Creative, actually. They don't usually say on their box who they are. Yes, this is Big G Creative, and it is Prospero Hall. Home Alone.
I would actually, so have we discussed on a past episode, have we discussed IP-based games? I don't think we have.
I don't
but I could
know
be mistaken.
I don't know if we've covered it as a topic. I'm sure it comes up on occasion.
Well, I would be curious if the chat would be interested in us covering that topic in an upcoming episode, because I think, there are definitely enough of them at this point that it's worth discussing if we haven't before.
Yep.
And honestly, there have been quite a few over the past couple of years that I've really enjoyed. So, chat, if you want to hear us, Eric and I, talk about our favorite IP-based games or what makes a good IP-based game, let us know in the chat.
Yes.
I don't know. Put the word Transformer in the chat if you want us to do that. I don't know, because
Sure.
I haven't played any of the Transformers games, but it feels like a good word that's easy to pull out of the chat if we want to look later.
Coralu does ask in the chat, is Eric the one who has to play the robbers? Yes, I am always asked to play the robbers. One, because I think the kids know that it's a pretty good chance that Kevin's going to win. And 2, because they want to be the mischievous kid who makes the adults hurt. Yes. So I think it's there's already a couple of Transformers in the chat. Thank you. That would be a good discussion. We should talk about what makes a good IP game. I played a terrible IP game recently that if you listen to the latest Dice Tower podcast, I'll talk about that. And I'm actually going to be on Flip Flory's Super Saturday board game serial in the next couple of weeks talking about the same game. It's a Voltron game. That's fun times. But it's game time.
Game time.
Game time. Our topic of discussion today is going to be board game boxes. And so I sort of was thinking about what I wanted to play, and I have come up with a game that I am calling What's in the Box.
Wait, so hold on. The name that I selected for the episode is the same as the name of the game that you've created.
I wasn't going to dwell on this, but yes.
So this is the thing. The chat at some point will literally never believe us. You and I align far too often on these types of things. But yes, let's just move on.
What's ridiculous is, you and I have only known each other for a few years. It feels like we've known each other all our lives, and it's very strange.
Honestly, if somebody told me that you were my long-lost brother, I would probably believe them.
Yes. Okay, so in this game, What's in the Box? I will present you with a box. Like this one. And your job is to figure out what's in the box. Okay, it's 20 questions.
Okay.
You must ask yes or no questions, and the point is that the chat is going to get to help you here. So I'm going to ask you to turn away from the camera, not quite yet, but in a moment, okay. I'll ask you to turn away from the camera. I will show chat what the object is. And then after every 5th question that you ask, I will pick one of chat's questions to give to you. So chat, your job is to ask questions, not too obvious ones, but ones that you think will lead Crystal in the right direction. So after every fifth question, I'll find one of the chat questions and give you that.
Okay.
And we're going to see if you can guess the object in the box. I have 3 rounds of play. We'll see how it goes. Who knows? Because I just made it up.
So in theory, if I just minimize the entire browser window that has the video and the chat in it, I'm going to be good to go?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
you'll want to see the size of this box. This is the size of... Here's next to me, so it's not...
Yeah, but you would definitely do the thing where you would pick a big box and put a small item in it. So that means nothing, sir.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is the size of your box.
Okay, that's the size. Someone in the chat asked what my shirt says, and it says, "There's coffee in that nebula." It is a Janeway quote. Unsurprising. All right, I am now minimizing the browser window.
And now I will, if you are clear, I'm going to show chat.
Yeah, I'm clear. Oh, no, wait, hold on. I have Skype up. Dear God. I was like, yeah, the YouTube is gone. Okay, now Skype is minimized as well. Oh, no, hold on. It doesn't completely minimize. I have to look away.
Okay, I'll tell you when you can look back.
Okay.
All right, chat, look at this object. And I want you to note the use of this object. You do that. Okay? You see what that is, chat? Okay. Now we're going to try and get Crystal to guess what's in the box. Where's my little notepad? All right, Crystal, you can turn back if you want to take a look at the box size once again. This is the box size that we're talking about. What would you like to ask?
Is the item board game related?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's a good start. Is the item made of wood?
Yes.
I mean, is the item a meeple?
Yes.
But that's not the end of the story?
Nope, there's more to it.
Okay. Huh.
You're very good at this game.
Apparently. Who knew? I don't know where to go. Like, that's a very specific thing to also continue down a path with.
Yes.
Is it a meeple from a specific game?
No.
Okay. Is it a uniquely shaped meeple?
No.
Okay.
All right, so that was your 5th question. So I'm going to look for... Yeah, I like that question. Would Tom like the object? Yes, he would.
Tom like the object? What does Tom like that... Oh, wait. Is it... Okay. Is it a...
Answering I shoot they scores question, yes, that is correct, but I'm not telling Crystal that yet.
Is it a dice tower meeple?
No. It is not a dice tower meeple.
Okay. Something Tom would like. It's made of wood. It's not a uniquely shaped meeple. So we're talking standard meeple shape, I assume. I feel like I'm all over it and still have no idea. Does its color have any specific meaning unrelated to player color? That was a lot of information.
I will say yes. It had the...
Okay.
Yes.
Does this meeple represent a real person?
No. It does not represent a real person.
Okay. Does this meeple represent a specific character in a game?
No.
Okay. How many is that?
That was 9, so one more and then you get a... Is Eric cheating now? I don't believe I am.
Is this a meeple that an average board gamer might have?
No.
Okay.
So they're okay. They're criticizing my answer to it being a dice tower meeple.
Okay.
But it is not a dice tower meeple. Oh, wait. Reverse that. Is it a meeple dice tower? Yes. So, it is a meeple dice tower. Where you put them in the head.
Okay.
But it's the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund logo, which is not the dice tower, which is why I was...
Okay, so I appreciate chat trying to defend me, but for the record, you interpreted my question the way I intended it, which was like those little wooden meeples that the dice tower makes.
Yes.
So I'm not mad about that because I was intending it to be like the company dice tower meeple, not an actual dice tower meeple. So,
but when I just said that out loud, it was like, well, now I am literally lying. So I just decided to give you that one. We're going to call that one a draw.
Okay.
That was a draw.
I'm okay with that. Okay. And thank you, chat, for defending my honor.
New round. Okay, we're going to show.
Okay, wait. Oh, box size. Well, do I look?
Yes, you definitely get to see the size of the box. This is the. Oh, that is dusty. Hang on. Ugh.
I've done that before. I'll pull a board game off the shelf, and then all of a sudden my hand is covered in dust, and I'm like, clearly this is a thing that should be telegraphing something.
The box has been under my desk for a while, but here's the box. Okay?
Fancy.
And if you are, you can hide.
Yep, turn it away.
That Meeple Dice Tower was a custom job that someone did as an auction item for the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund, and I bought it because I liked it. All right.
It's really neat.
So, here is object number 2. All right. Chat has seen the operation of the item. And Crystal, you are all set.
Okay. For the record, I think where my brain really went off the rails is when I said, is it a meeple? It was meeple shaped.
Yes. Oh, but it is a meeple.
I mean, it is. That's... Okay. New round.
New round.
Is it board game related?
This one is not board game related.
Okay. I'm glad that I'm asking that question first.
That is a good question.
I think that helps me. It's the whole animal, mineral, vegetable thing, but is it something that most people would have in their house?
Definitely not. No.
Okay. Would you call this item expensive?
I would not. No.
Okay. So not necessarily pricey, but most people wouldn't have it. Is it something collectible? Okay, technically everything is collectible, but is it something that a collector would seek out? Is that a better way of phrasing it?
I will say yes.
Okay, and I will not use that information for any real reason then, based on the way you reacted.
One more question, and then I've picked one that I like from the chat that I'm going to ask.
Okay. Is the color of the object... Does the color of the object have significance?
No.
Okay.
All right, that was 5 questions.
Sorry, I ask weird questions when I play games like this.
This would be... Okay, the question that I wanted to ask is from Hawkskull. Is it music related? Yes, it is.
Okay.
And these don't count as your questions, by the way. You still get 20 questions and then 4 from the chat.
Okay. Is it something you use your mouth to play?
No, it is not.
Okay, so we've limited out a bunch of musical things just with that. The only thing that... Okay, so is it made of metal?
No, it is not made of metal.
Okay, so for whatever reason, a jaw harp was like sticking in my brain. I don't know why, but that seemed like something that you would own and most people would not.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so not metal. Is it made of wood?
I will say...
Is it at least partially made of wood?
Partially, yes.
Okay. music related, fits in that box, partially made of wood, no metal, possibly something someone would collect, but not necessarily. Most people wouldn't have it.
Yep, I'm seeing some. I think I've picked out my next question from the chat, but you have two more questions to get through. And there's not a second good one from the chat.
Is this something a child would typically use?
I will say yes to that question.
Okay.
It would appeal to a child, let's say that.
Okay. Is it a toy?
Yes, in a strict definition, yes.
Okay.
Right, that's 10 questions. Does it represent a person, says Nick. Yes, it does.
Does it represent a person? It's musical. It represents a person. So are we talking like a figurine of Beethoven? Like what?
Yes.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think actually that's pretty much all you need to know.
Wait, I was being very sarcastic. Oh, wait, I've seen that on your set like a billion times.
Ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-bum.
It's a bust of Beethoven.
It is a bust, and the clothespin on the back that operates is made of wood. He's mostly foam rubber, but yes, that one I'm going to give you credit for, and the chat definitely.
Honestly, that must have been a subconscious thing in my brain that I remember seeing it because I was not actively remembering that item when I said those words.
Someone asked, has it been seen on the stream before? And I do believe I have waved Beethoven in front of the camera before.
You definitely have. I've seen it, but like my brain was not consciously remembering it.
Okay, so that one you honestly you won that one for sure. Here comes round 3, and this one I have to hang on a second.
Oh goodness. Oh God.
This is the box for round 3. Okay.
And is he pretending that it's heavy, or is it heavy? This is the trick.
I'll just stand here holding it like this, and you can judge for yourself. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, Crystal has turned away. I'm going to show chat what this object is. Give me a second. It's going to take a little bit of maneuvering. All right, something else I want to show you. Not you, Crystal, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, not yet. I'm putting it away.
Okay.
And now I am ready. And I'm going to put this on my lap. Where'd my clipboard go? Hang on. Okay. I am good.
Okay. All right. Is it related to board games?
It is not related to board games.
Okay. Is it edible?
It is not edible.
I don't know why, but I was thinking watermelon.
No.
No, that doesn't count. That's not a question. Okay.
Have I really shown this on the stream before, Jerry? Maybe I have. Maybe I just forgot.
Is it a toy?
No. I will say this is not a toy.
Okay. Is it a collectible item?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Your big transformer is conspicuously missing from back there, I think. Right? Like, don't you usually have a giant transformer back there?
What are you talking
about?
Is
it a transformer?
It is not a transformer, no.
Ah, boo.
No, that is question number 5, though. So we're going to say... what's a good one? I like... Would Crystal be tempted to steal it if it was left unattended? Yes. I think Crystal would be tempted to steal this if it was left unattended.
I don't know if that's a commentary on the item itself or my character, but, whatever. It's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that wasn't
Is
question
it
6.
related to Weird Al?
Yes.
Okay. Something of Weird Al's. Is it an album?
Is it an album? No.
Oh, is it the Squeeze Box? Yay! Hold on, man. I don't know where my skirt is.
There it is. That's the accordion.
Yes.
And the booklet just fell out. Hang on a second. Okay. Yes, you know what I'm holding. And yes.
Yeah, I know what it is.
The album.
So Eric, I have a skirt that has that image with all the dots on it printed all over it. And I wore it when I met Al, and he asked if he could take a photo of me. And my friend Melanie, who also had the skirt on. But, he didn't, post it anywhere after the fact. But he, genuinely was like, oh, can I take a picture of you guys? And then he didn't post it anywhere, so he took it just for himself. And that makes me feel even more special.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have successfully completed, I lost my clipboard again, but that didn't take very many questions at all. Excellent question on the chat. So, what would Crystal want to steal from me? Anything related to Weird Al is what we learned.
Yeah, that does. I'm trying to think of other things. We have a lot in common personality-wise, but, the thing that you and I have discussed the most that we both love is definitely Weird Al.
Yes. And that was of the boxed set of all of his albums, including some extra stuff, and it's shaped like an accordion, and yes. And Stephanie made me promise I would tell you this. When I was getting ready for the show, I was putting this in a box so that we could do what's in the box, and my wife came in and said, "Oh, is that going on the sale pile? Are you packing that away for good?" I'm like, no, I was going to put it back where it was when I'm done with the game. She's like, oh, okay.
Oh, goodness.
It is, I will admit, a little unwieldy. And so, yeah, we don't really have a spot for it. What I want is a nice display case. You can put a spotlight on it and,
I honestly, the only reason I didn't buy it was because I knew that it would just be something that sat around, which that's okay. I have items that do that, but it was really expensive and I couldn't,
yes.
I couldn't do it.
If you had asked your expensive question on that one, I would have said yes, this definitely.
Yeah.
It was hard, but also it's really cool.
Also kind of worth it. Yeah. No, it's really cool.
Yes. But anyway, that is what's in the box, and you did a lovely job with the game, Crystal.
We found one that I'm good at. I like those types of line of questioning style games,
sure.
Especially, although admittedly, I am that person who I can nuance my way quickly into the right path, and I can also go off on an extreme tangent, and I find it difficult to get back.
I like the chat was asking some good questions too, and they definitely got you headed in the right direction, which was good.
For sure.
So, speaking of boxes, our topic for today, we sort of came upon this tangentially when we were talking about expansions a couple weeks ago, and talking about the boxes that expansions come in and whether you can fit the expansion content in the base game box. But we sort of realized as we were talking that board game boxes are a much larger topic than just the expansion content, and so we wanted to maybe spend more time talking about it. Where do we want to start on this topic, Crystal?
What makes a great box?
We like to view our games as heirloom objects, and I think we would all like to think that the box is going to last as long as we could possibly want to have this game. And so we want them to be nice and sturdy. I'm thinking of the box for Fantastica, which is super thick, and it would never come apart. You could almost stand on the box and it would not come apart. And it's got a nice finish on it. It doesn't look like it would fade or rub off. You want your boxes to look as pristine as they were when you first got them. And it hurts a little bit when a box doesn't stand up. You throw it in a board game bag and carry it around for a month or two, and it doesn't, I'm looking at you, Firefly, does not look nearly as nice as it was when you first got it. It's got the dishing and the creasing and the rubbing, and the cover comes off. So just long lasting is step one for a board game box.
Yeah, I think the thickness and the type of cardboard used is definitely important. And for somebody like me, it's weird because I'm very precious about certain things, certain objects that I own. But when it comes to my board games, I don't think I am as precious about them as a lot of people are in the hobby. And that includes the box and the components. Although it's funny because I'm not precious about them. So like I'll throw them in the bag or throw them on the shelf or throw them on the floor, throw them on a pile. And then later I'll realize that the corner is busted.
Yeah.
And I'll be a little bit sad about it. But like the box is only a means of storage, really. Like, yes, technically you display the boxes, so they are technically a piece of art in your house too. But like, even if the corner's damaged, it still serves that purpose, and it usually will still hold the components. There was somebody in my game group years ago who every time he got a new game, he would take a really sharp razor blade and flip the box over and just slice gently along the inside of the box edge.
Yep.
And just pull off that very bottom piece of plastic and leave the plastic around all of the other sides of the box. So when he lifted the box lid, it was still covered in plastic, but you could open it. And I will admit, I don't want to judge anybody for the way that they treat their own games. And if you want to keep them pristine, that's fine. But I honestly thought that was bananas because I was like, that's just so much.
But you end up with well-protected outer cover. I sort of think of it as being kind of a cool idea. I don't think I would ever do it. I totally agree with your perspective, though, that at some point it is just a conveyance. And I am one that is perfectly fine taking packing tape and repairing the corners of my boxes in that manner. I know there are ways that you can perform surgery on your box to try and fix split corners like that. You have to, layer paper on the inside and try and mesh the corners back together with glue and all. No, packing tape, because I know I'm going to throw it in another bag and take it somewhere, and it's going to get beat up again if I treat it with kid gloves. But, packing tape is actually going to reinforce that corner a little bit more. So yes, these are objects, and the box is more of a utilitarian object than needing it to look pretty, I guess, for me.
So two points came into my head as you were saying all of that. So there is that thing that happens where the Dice Tower crew goes over to Essen during a normal year, and a lot of I've seen many pieces of coverage where y'all are slicing those corners on the boxes so you can lay them flat on top of one another, and basically you're destroying the boxes for the sake of getting things home in luggage. And that has always felt like it would be potentially a little bit tough for me. But if it means you're bringing home more games, then I get it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things when you're dealing with weight limits of luggage that you have to deal with that. And yes, and then you reassemble it when you get home if you're going to keep that box. Or for some games, you end up putting them in your quiver, or you end up, finding another storage solution.
And so what you said was also that board game boxes, essentially, you were repeating kind of what I said, that they're a means of conveyance. But I don't know if it was you and I that had this discussion. It may have been me and somebody else. But I know I've had a conversation with people, I think it was you, about those BitBox storage solutions.
Yes.
And we've talked about the fact that we don't like them. And it's not that they're bad, but it just doesn't work for us. But if in theory the box is just a means of conveyance, then why wouldn't we like those things? And I think for me, it gets back into the collectible aspect of board games. So the art definitely means something. And also the fact that when you own a certain number of board games, like I know in general all of the games that I own, but if I'm looking for a game, I like to be able to visually
Yeah.
digest them.
Yep.
And if they're packed away in a nondescript box, they're not going to enter my brain as easily. So I think for me, the box is important as a means of recollection. Like, oh, this thing exists. You have it. It's on the shelf right there.
Yes, as a visual tableau, it is nice to be able, and I like when the game can have its own unit. You know, like if I take this box off the shelf, I know that this game is fully contained in this box. Everything I need is here. Often when you start doing these alternate methods of storage, like a bit box, you'll have a drawer with the components in it, but then one of those sleeve or folio cases has to have the boards in it. And so now you have to go here and here to get the game that you want to play, or it's a leap. I mean, if you commit to a storage solution, then I think you could go with that, but I just trying to remember what is in the bit box, and I have trouble remembering what's in the quiver sometimes too.
I do the same thing.
Like, where did that game go? Oh, I dismantled the box and I threw it in the quiver. One thing that does have me getting rid of boxes is when the box is more difficult to store. There are decisions that are made often for marketing purposes or display purposes in a store. The publishers have decided that this looks flashier on the shelf. We often hear this with oversized boxes, a box that's way too big for the components inside. The thing that always gets me are weird-sized boxes, and this came up in the chat already. Cylindrical boxes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is cool. I like this game, and I'm keeping it around because I like this game, but this is very difficult to store anywhere. This almost needs its own cubby or something. It's odd. And then Connexy, this word stacking game, which is very cool.
Oh, gosh.
But it's this weird trapezoidal thing. Where does that go? Like, where do you put this on the shelf?
Right. It almost feels like upside down on its top would be the best way to store it, but then it will look
that, I guess.
Weird.
Well, I mean, and then you could have it like this. It's on the shelf like that. But it's just odd.
But it won't line up with all the others.
Yes, I could maybe put it upside down. I don't know. There's a way. I'll figure it out. But stuff like that often will have me finding a new solution. Because if it doesn't fit, it's okay if it's like the one thing on a shelf, but as soon as your collection reaches any sort of size, you're sort of looking for efficiency in addition to the display nature of the game. And having weird sized boxes is more difficult for that.
For sure. We were talking about using storage solutions, and Pam in the chat says, I put some games in a game folio. Haven't seen them since and no idea what games they are. And that feels very much like me. I actually, years ago, AEG used to do a black box every year where they would put a bunch of games in a single box and sell them. And I bought like the previous year's black box at a 50% discount. So I think I got it for like $25. It was a great deal. And the games in that year's box, Trains was in there.
Nice.
Something Reloaded. Doomtown? No. Is that a thing?
Could be right. Yeah.
So the funny thing is, I don't remember the games that were in it because I've never played any of them.
Oh, no.
Not a single one. Even Trains, which I've heard many, many times is a great game.
It's a great deck.
But but when I'm looking at that shelf, the big black box with the AEG logo doesn't, jump out at me.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you shelved it like that. Does it not have the individual boxes inside it?
No.
It's like the components of each of those games inside this big black box.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that's how that worked.
At least I think it was. Now I'm doubting myself and wondering if I've made a horrible mistake. But I think that is the case. Because it's pretty much just a Ticket to Ride size box, maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay.
But it's not gigantic.
Like
it's
it wouldn't
fairly
hold
small.
all of those individual boxes inside.
Yeah, it had 4 games in it. And I want to say there were 2 that people were like, oh yeah, those are great. The other 2, meh, whatever. But it was $25. So.
Yep. Crystal, what is your opinion of the tin?
Okay, so here's what's interesting about this, Eric. During the top 10 list that I did as part of the Summer Spectacular, this actually came up. And I think the phrase that I used in the middle of the stream was that they have a unique charm. And Tom ripped me a new one. He was like, no, there is nothing good about a 10. And admittedly, like, no, I do not think 10s go well with other boxes, but it is waterproof. It is kid-proof for the most part.
They'll dent,
like,
but yes.
Yeah, I mean, but like a dent in a metal box is often different than a dent in a cardboard box. So no, I'm saying for storage purposes and aesthetic purposes, okay, no. But I think 10s have merit and value, even if I do not prefer them to cardboard boxes. Yeah. I'm not saying I want everything in 10. I do not. But Tom said there was nothing redeeming about them, and I do not believe that to be true.
Well, I just actually realized something. I just set this down on its side when I put it on the floor again. You know how sometimes I like to store my games vertically. I think it looks cool on the shelf to have them lined up like books. But
and then you can grab the one you want more easily
too,
because
pull it
otherwise
off
the one on the bottom is never getting pulled off.
Yes. But the danger with that is if ever the shelf is not full, some of those games are going to start to separate. If it's a really packed box, the stuff inside starts to push on the walls of the box and it starts to open. The tin locks closed. And so that's not happening with the tin. Also, the graphics still look great, even though this has been around for a long time. I think the metal holds its colors better and doesn't get scuffed up as easily. So there are benefits to a tin. It's just that when you put this with other games, it doesn't stack all that well with them.
Right. I think if all games came in tins, Tom would probably be more of a fan of them, would be my guess. I think that his dislike of them is based on the fact that they don't go with the rest of most games.
Yes. So other things that we like about board game boxes, you said you had a few examples of stuff that you've really enjoyed.
So for me, when you and I were discussing this topic before the episode, you had mentioned like inserts in boxes, like yay or nay, what's good, what's bad. And so like I actually love a good insert, and I am sometimes like offended by a bad insert. So I'm looking at games like Barren Park, which literally had 2 strips of cardboard that you slot into one another. And then the pieces don't even fit well in this non-insert. So it was just ridiculous. Also, game I love, Castell, came with an insert that had you separate all the Castellers out by size. So it looked really neat. Like, oh, you separate all the pieces out by size. Except that you never separate the Castellers by size in the game.
Yes.
Ever. They just sit in a bag to be drawn.
Yeah.
So why at the end of the game would you separate them all out to put them in the insert to then just throw them back in the bag? It is mind-boggling the decision-making that led to that insert.
Yes. I mean, there's Pastally is a recent abstract game where all of the tiles in the game are shuffled together and put in 3 stacks at the beginning of the game. But the insert has them like separated into groups of 6, almost like you're supposed to separate out the different types, and then they get splayed, and they look gorgeous when you pull the cover off. All the tiles are sort of like splayed in this lovely insert, but you're going to take them all out and stick them all together and shuffle them. It doesn't work as a functional object, and I do find it very frustrating when an insert knows that there is an expansion coming, and the insert assumes that that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like it fits perfectly in this gorgeous insert, but as soon as you buy that extra faction, all this doesn't work, and you literally have to ditch it. And that's...
Sterling is drinking water behind me as loudly as he possibly can right now.
Just making his presence known. I feel like one of the best inserts I've seen in the last few years is Unmatched. Fantastic insert, for the 4 characters in the box. But as soon as you start getting the expansions and extra maps and extra characters, that no longer works very well, and it hurts to get rid of that insert. But I have all of my Unmatched collection in one box. And you can't do that with the insert that comes with it, as amazing as it is.
Yeah, no, what I like to see in an insert is something that makes sense, that's deliberate, and that functions well. So something like Catch the Moon, for instance.
Your Zoom background has blocked out what it is. Yes.
Here, let's see if we can turn
it
off.
It was like it was censored. It's like, what are you putting in that box?
Let's unblur myself and see if that works.
There we go.
Is that a little better?
Yes.
So Catch the Moon, non-censored edition, like little spot for the die, little spot for the the cloud tier tokens. The starting ladders get their own space, and then all the other ladders in the cloud right in the middle. Same kind of deal for King Domino. Like, everything has a little place. You've got a finger hole to get out the tiles here, so it's easy to get stuff out of the insert. Great. Then, I mean, come on. Funkoverse, so good. Also, for display purposes, like, you can see through the box.
Okay.
That's unique, right?
But same problem as with Unmatched.
True. Every box of Funkoverse you buy essentially needs to stay itself, because you could theoretically fit more like of the dice and tokens in here, but you would not be able to fit the characters.
Right, and the whole fun of Funkoverse is having multiple characters mixed together, and so at some point you have to get rid of that insert, and then
also if you're no go
and
ahead.
then you have the window into your mess of stuff. Like,
yeah, and then also if you're a board game content creator who likes to sometimes just set the box lid out so you can like take cool pictures with the box lid nearby, there's this giant hole in the box, and so
it's a minor consideration.
It's just a little bit awkward, I'd say, wouldn't you?
Yes. I saw there was a tweet that came along while we were talking about this episode, and some folks talking about small game boxes and how wonderful they are. The new game Fort, which is now on Kickstarter, which I haven't had a chance to experience at all, but it's a small box game. And the Tiny Epic games are very good at packing a lot of game into a very small footprint, and therefore a very useful box size. And there was another element of that I wanted to show off. I don't remember if this was a Kickstarter thing or... So if you got Tiny Epic Galaxies Beyond the Black, the expansion, it comes in the same size box as the original game, but they shipped it with a sleeve that combines the two into one brick, which I found awesome, because now I don't lose this box. I couldn't fit the expansion components into this because this box is already full. But now it's its own brick, and I can keep them together, which I think is a lovely... I wish more publishers would do that, to have some method of keeping your expansion content with the original game if you can't put them in the same box. Someone mentioned box bands. Do you rubber band your boxes together? I
don't. I like box bands. I just have never really bought any. So I guess I shouldn't say no, because I do something. How do I say this the right way? There's a specific type of tape that is usually used for other purposes.
You're talking of Hugo's Amazing Tape, and you can get it in other places too, yes.
Yes, it sticks to itself and nothing else.
Yes.
And it is very good for securing boxes that need to be secured. And so I have some of that for when I need it.
Yeah, I haven't tried doing an entire box with the Hugo's Amazing Tape. I would worry that it would stick to other boxes on the shelf if I did it with all of them. But I have used the bands when I'm traveling. We talked about the concept of those games opening up. There are some games that are maybe a little thinner or more prone to opening that I will put a band on just to keep it contained. Can't Stop is one. That's a very large, like pizza-sized box that could open very easily. And I've got the expansion, so all the tokens are in there. And if that opens up, it just goes everywhere, and we don't want that. My Merchant of Venus copy is also banded so that things just stay contained and I don't lose tokens everywhere.
Yeah, Pam in the chat, the answer to your question is yes. Generally, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I did want to give a shout out to the size of the box that we all know and love. That the thing that we all refer to as the Ticket to Ride size box. Which this, I have Quacks of Quedlinburg, though. I like this box size. It's not too big. It's not too small. There's a lot of games that are this size. And so it just feels good. And I had to pull Quacks specifically for myself because it is one of my favorite boxes that I own because of what I have done with it. And I'm fairly certain I've shown this off on the show before, but I'm going to do it again because it's worth showing off. So I got the upgraded bits for Quacks from Board Game Geek. So I've got all the little like plastic tokens in here. I just pulled off the boards off the top of that. And then inside my Quacks box, oh, it's just so beautiful. And I am not an organized person. I am not a person who meticulously organizes anything. And this box makes me want to be that person because having all of the tokens in this Plano container is just so good. And I can literally just open this Plano up and play the game. Like, this is it. And I love it. I love it so much. And this Plano container cost me almost nothing off of Amazon. Like, it's really cheap.
You can get them in 4-packs. I have done almost exactly the same thing with my Quacks box. So this Ticket to Ride size box, it is so cool when you get like an entire shelf of that size box and everything fits nicely on the shelf and it's like the perfect size. Not every game really fits in that box size, but it is really nice that so many do. It just looks really good on the shelf. And one of the coolest things when we set up the Dice Tower library was like there are 4 shelves of that size box. Entire shelving units. And you just look at the shelf and go, yep, that is exactly what a shelf should look like. It's fully packed. It's full. It's efficient. And then you have to start moving into other box sizes like, oh, well, now you got some little ones and some big ones. But these 4 shelves, they look perfect.
Yup. Well, should we take a few questions from the chat before we wrap things up today?
I feel like we should. We got very chatty. It's already, oh boy, it's already a little past 2. But yes, I'm very happy.
A little past 2?
A little past 2. A little past 10. I just saw somebody just said it's 2 p.m. Thursday here in New Zealand. So I was very confused in the chat. And I read what's in front of me, Crystal. When there's text, I just read it.
That is what you do. Well, earlier in the show, James in the chat asked a question that I told him I would get back to. I typed a response to him. Okay. And that was, he was asking me about the new Star Trek show that is starting on August 6th.
Yes.
Which it is Lower Decks. So it is, Gator Dave just put it in the chat as well. Lower Decks opinion. It is a new animated Star Trek show, kind of in the style of other adult animated shows. And I don't actually know if that means it's going to be crude, but it's not a kids show is all I know for sure.
Yeah, based on the preview that they've shared, there seem to be some subject matter things that will be not for kids. Yeah.
I am so excited about Lower Decks, and not just because it's new Trek. I mean, I would be excited for that reason.
Sure.
But honestly, I really like shows like Rick and Morty and other shows of that style. And I love Star Trek, and this is basically marrying those two things. But not just those things. It's the fact that this show is focused on the people that everybody is always asked about on the starship. Like, you always see the people on the bridge and the officers. But clearly that giant starship is being the run by somebody.
Yeah.
Like the things that keep it working. And this show is going to focus on those people. And so I genuinely hope that through the humor and the kooky storylines that we actually do get some neat insights into how starships really work, like at a deeper level. And I'm excited about that.
I'm hoping that there's a heart of Star Trek in there, and that I'm confident that there will be, even though it is a comedy show, which we have not seen aside from the occasional episode standalone of the series. This one is designed as a comedy, which should be an interesting perspective. But I'm hoping it still has that heart where we can get a little bit of that Star Trek core as well.
It'll be right after when Star Trek Las Vegas, the convention, should have theoretically happened here in town. And so it also makes me a little bit sad because I don't get to go to the convention this year and my friends won't be coming into town. So that's a bit of a bummer, but at least we get a new show as a salve for that.
Yes. Hawkskull is asking, is it one of the people that has to pull the door mechanisms on the starship?
I mean, those were just the employees of the production company back
I don't think that's
day.
Canon, that there's someone that actually pulls the door open and close.
No, the way they described this is the person who puts the canister of yellow into the replicator so it can spit out a banana.
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, who's putting something in the back end so it can actually create food, or, who's doing the maintenance on things that aren't the big important, engineering type stuff.
Yeah.
So
there was a comment from EH. I just want game companies to make game trays that are big enough to hold sleeved cards. This, I know, is the bane of many publishers as they try and design the interior of their boxes, because it's hard if you're dealing with people who don't sleeve their cards and you make the tray large enough for sleeved cards, then often the cards slide around. But if you don't make it large enough for sleeved cards, then everyone who does sleeve their cards gets very upset. The only thing I've seen that works really well is some of the trays are like a cross pattern. So you've got the well for the cards, and it's designed so that if you put them this way, it's not sleeved. And then if you put them this way, it's designed for sleeve, so it's a little wider and a little longer so that it would allow for that to happen. But not every design of an insert can do that, so they sort of have to pick and choose one or the other.
Yeah.
Which will they support? And that's a hard decision because you can't make everybody happy.
I refuse to sleeve any of my games. I do not sleeve anything.
Yeah, I've occasionally sleeved things. My Race for the Galaxy, for whatever reason, is sleeved. I think because of the action cards, the ones that you're deciding on, I knew those would get handled a lot, so I wanted to make sure that those would remain secret for each player. But I ended up just sleeving everything. But I have not sleeved, pretty much anything else.
Honestly, I bought a game secondhand from a friend of mine, and he is a meticulous sleever who sleeves everything he buys. And when I bought the game from him, I actually considered unsleeving it. I ended up leaving them because I was like, that's stupid. It's protecting the cards. They're already sleeved. Shouldn't go through the work to unprotect them. But I did consider it.
Kabuki says, I sleeve deck builders for shuffling reasons, which I certainly get. And anything that's going to get a lot of use repeatedly, it is sort of sad when you look at Dominion and the core cards, the gold and the copper and all that, is far more worn than any of the other sets of cards. And so it is, at some point, easy to tell when you're about to draw a coin as opposed to an action card. But then they did come out with a core set. You could buy new coin cards to replace the ones that were super worn. So there is that.
Yeah, James in the chat said they've sleeved Clank, and I will admit I considered Clank as well because the expansion for Clank, the backs of the cards was a slightly different color, so you could kind of tell. But admittedly, like when they're all shuffled together, you don't even if you know it's from the expansion or not, it didn't really affect anything. So I just left mine alone.
Yeah. I just, if I'm going to play a game enough to wear out the cards that much, it's probably okay. Although someone, I think maybe it was Coralu, said that they play with kids. And that does add an extra need to sleeve the cards, because the kids are going to have stickier hands and maybe not be as gentle with the cards. It adds a little more rigidity to the cards and hopefully gets them through that period where they might not be as gentle with the game.
That makes sense. And since I've spoken in the past that I'm not a person who tends to play the same game over and over and over and over again, so maybe that's why I don't have those same thoughts, because I don't have kids and I'm not playing, a game 100 times generally. So that might be why I've been less inclined. And if in the future I find that one game that somehow makes me not want to try other new games, maybe then.
Any other questions that we want to touch on before we call it a night, Crystal?
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have something that I wanted to let everybody know about.
Sure.
So, in the upcoming future, in about a week and a half, Gen Cant is happening, hosted and run by the Dice Tower's own Suzanne Sheldon. She's been running Gen Cant for years. Gen Cant has typically run along with Gen Con, the in-person convention, and it's been the unconvention that everyone who wasn't at Gen Con could participate in. And Suzanne has done this literally out of love for the hobby and nothing else. She has put so much work, so much time, so much effort into this every single year. And this year she is going all out.
Sure.
Because everybody's Gen Canting this year, for the most part. I mean, Gen Con is doing an online thing, but Gen Cant is still happening. It's July 30th through August 2nd. The headline is Gen Cant. This year, we all Gen Can. And that's just great. But there's a bunch of events happening. If you go to gencant.com, you will see the whole event schedule, but there are 2 events that I am hosting as part of Gen Cant. I am doing karaoke on Saturday, August 1st, and you, Eric, might be interested to know that I set the start time as 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
That is interesting.
So I wanted to make, even though 5 p.m. seems early for a karaoke start, I wanted to make sure that people on the East Coast, obviously it's still not hitting Europe at an ideal time. I think, it's 1 a.m. BT, so that's still real late. But yeah, doing karaoke 5 p.m. on Saturday, August 1st. And then on Sunday, August 2nd, I'm doing an event that should hit way more time zones. I'm doing Jackbox live at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So I tried to make sure that people would be able to participate a little bit more easily, doing karaoke, doing Jackbox. I'm very excited about both of these events, and I hope that a lot of the people from here will come participate in those and all of the other Gen Cant events going on. So yeah, feel free to go to gencant.com and make sure to give Suzanne a shout if you are on social media or whatever, and let her know that you appreciate all of the work that she's put into this, because she doesn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
This is not she's not getting paid to do this. She literally just does it for the love of the hobby and all of us. And I don't think she gets enough credit for that. So I just want to make sure that she gets some kudos.
I think she sort of keeps it on the down low that she runs it. It's sort of not, it's not a secret, but she doesn't go looking for a lot of attention for it, and it's good too.
No, and she deserves a lot of praise for the work that she's put into this.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Well, as for us, you'll see us in another 2 weeks. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll figure it out when we get there, but we'll have more shenanigans, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. It'll be August, Eric.
I know. How does that happen? Oh, my goodness.
This year. Well, until then, I am Crystal.
And I'm Eric.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me, with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Kennedy, and Rob Searing. Our answer to the question, who am the boy who refused to grow up, brought to you by Pan Am. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
And click the thumbs up button. I forgot to say it.
Please do. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, chat. We love you.